Okay, so a few things that we're going to look at today. First of all, we are going to take a quick little cruise through the module, actually, because I just want to look at it. I posed what your objectives are, and I want to make sure, since I'm kind of worried now about my language choices, that they make sense to you guys. And then we are going to talk about the chapter in particular, the multicultural sensitivity. And we are going to break out into rooms. So the recorded aspect will unfortunately miss it, but at least you guys all have through your announcements what the discussion topics are, and then and the prompts, I believe, yes, and the prompts for it. So fabulous. All right, let's do a share screen. But while we're at it, my friends, do you guys have any other questions about the semester, what's going on? Any other questions about the assignments? I mean, I know I know it's a little too fresh off the press for the announcement. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it in the 30 seconds I signed on. Hi, Eileen, glad to have you here. And you know what? I totally apologize. I've been, I was re-listening to the recordings and I'm like, I'm calling you Aylin and whatever, and you should have corrected me, but that's beside the point. Okay. Girlfriend, tell me whenever I call you something strange, okay? Or unique or different, or who knows what I come up with. It's always an adventure. Thank you.
Question.
Yeah.
I'm a little confused, and I'm sorry, it's probably a silly question, but I'm a little confused on the discussion. I was trying to reply, but I'm unable to, and I just want to make sure I'm like looking at the right page, because I don't want to be behind on that.
All right, yeah, no, I totally get it. The discussions, okay, hold on one second. Let me go into student view so that I'm seeing what you guys see, all right?
Okay.
Because that's sometimes how I find out that it's just, of course, you're not going to see what I see, and then it's a disaster. All right, so I'm going into the discussions tab, and Rosemary, this might, hopefully if it's the way I think it is, it's going to work out a-okay.
Yeah, it looks just like that. And then like, for example, like yesterday, I was trying to post my question or just comment for the week. And I clicked on module 1, empowering people, discussion questions and comments, but it wouldn't let me like reply and post my,
Yeah,
I
because
I'm the only one.
Sorry?
I don't know if I'm just clicking on the wrong one or.
Okay, empowering people was last week.
Okay.
So it would have been due Sunday of last week before we have our first Monday session. Okay. And the reason, and I can change the lock date and massage it a little to Wednesday, but the ideal plan is to have them by Sunday when the readings are due, so that I could address those questions in the recording for both Monday and Thursday.
Yeah.
But you know, if you plan on taking, you know, attending Thursdays or the recordings, I can always put the deadline as Wednesday night. I just need to have a chance to look at this stuff before I get to it.
Yeah.
Which challenge number 2 is, as long as I remember. So that's why. And I gave feedback for the people who were able to get that up there in advance. Okay.
Yeah. So next week's, which module should I have?
So today we're on the sensitivity and building bridges discussion.
Yeah.
All right. So of course I'm gonna totally have a freak out if there's, oh look, no one wrote questions.
Okay, that makes sense now. I was like so confused to like where, who, where. So anyway.
Yeah. So you would hit the reply and start your own strand. Okay. And it could be that, like, let's say Maggie wrote her questions, and then you look at her, oh, my computer's freaking out right now. Maggie wrote questions, and then you're looking at her questions, and you're like, you want to, instead of writing your own questions as a separate box, you want to build off of hers because you think hers actually inspired more questions, and then you would post a reply to that. My computer is having an emotional meltdown right now. I don't know if you can see that. It's just like.
Okay, and then I have another question. Sorry.
No, Rosemary, okay? We need to have an agreement, you guys, all right? And I'm calling you out on this. First of all, there are no silly questions, you guys, all right? Because if there are silly questions, then you have a silly teacher. And I don't mind owning that, okay? I can be with that. but just understand that I accept that as being a part of me and I have no issues with that. But your questions are valuable to me at all times, folks. All right. They're always valuable to me because number one, that's a self-check for me on my performance, how I'm communicating, what I'm thinking. Am I effective? All right. Number two, I need you guys to be clear. You're not going to get this if you don't ask questions and don't ponder things. All right. So I want these questions. I need these questions. Did I not tell you my middle name is Y? I'm a teacher's nightmare, but a really great teacher would be like, great, throw it at me. Let me see what you've got. All right. I don't know if I'm a great teacher, but what I am is a person who lives in the why. So if you have questions, I want you to fire them away because I'm going to either get better at what I'm doing or I'm going to absolutely solve things that are just incomplete. I want you all to walk away with some incredible sense of power in what you're doing. And it's got to be, that power can't come from me. It's got to come from you. And the only way it's going to come from you is when you ask questions and get your answers and formulate them from what I say. Okay. So girlfriend, be
Where,
powerful, be amazing, and own it.
thank you. Where do I find pre-recorded Zoom lectures?
Yes. Excellent. Thank you. This is actually brilliant that you bring this up. This has come up a lot today or in the last few days. So see, I'm really glad you brought this up because why? It was supposed to be on my discussion topic list, which is a missing piece of paper. All right, when you guys go on to the syllabus tab, right, we go to the syllabus tab and you scroll down, I'm really sneaky in what I do. I built the link directly into the syllabus. So it takes me sometimes a day, depending on my work schedule, it takes me a day or two to get it. Because if I don't do anything weird on the back end, then I can load it directly. But if I'm having a babbling session that I'm just like, the world doesn't need to hear this, then I will have to upload it to YouTube, edit it, and that takes overnight. So it takes a while. So yeah, when you go to the syllabus, just find the date and topic. So we've got community empowerment from last week, Monday's session. In this case, if I put the passcode, it means it's through Fullerton and you've got to know what the passcode is, the AKIB thing. And then when you click on it, oh, it pulled it up directly. You click on it and you've got your thing. I got to warn you, I believe the Fullerton ones do not last very long. And if that does become an issue, then I will do everything on YouTube. It's just YouTube is a much slower process. And I know sometimes people complain, I think about like ads coming in or something. So it's in YouTube also for you guys. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. That has come up a lot. I've been messaging, fielding a lot of text messages. And okay, so the option is shh, tell her to be quiet. Okay, got rid of her. Life is good. There's only so much of me I can handle at once. Okay, really good questions, you guys. So we have a couple of things at play here. Number one, please, I love questions. My only catch is just that when you guys need me to review your work to make sure you're on target, I love doing that when I have the time, but this semester is really tough. So I can glance at something really quickly, keep it small, keep it simple as an example of what you want me to look at, but please be cautious. If you give me a whole document, I'm going to be like, whoa, I got other stuff to do. And I'll glance at it quickly and let's hope to God I looked at it correctly. Yeah, I know. It's tough. Okay, let's see. Other thing is I'm trying to focus on honing in as things calm down a little to make sure that I send announcements that do, oops, not assignments. Let's go to the homepage. Announcements like I did just now to give you guys a heads up. I do like doing the little video announcements, partially because I just thoroughly enjoy my mug shots. But secondly, because some of us are really big into reading, some of us are more auditory. I'm more of an auditory person. So not in lecture necessarily, but hey, So I've got a mix there. And in this case for today, these are the topics that we're going to be talking about. Just kind of a FYI. Yeah. Okay, and then I'm also going to take us to the CDC website because I think there's some interesting things here. All right, so for today's topic, we are going to go through questions 1 and 2. Let's see, we're going to talk a little bit on question 3 and then how this falls into motivational interviewing. And you guys are going to break into groups and you're going to do a quick little practice on Am I Together? And then we are going to talk about the examples of challenges in identifying and managing intersectionality for education. That one came up a couple times. Some of this will be full group, some of this will be the one-on-one, and some of it will be group experience. So kind of a little bit of a bummer for recording, but I want you guys to practice, okay? All right, how y'all doing? You okay out there? Any questions? Nay? All right, one thing I did want to show you quickly is how did I change the, sorry, huge heads up on your module for this section for the multicultural. I added the motivational interviewing, and honestly, the only thing I've added right now is I want to build it a little bit more. And so I'm looking for a good YouTube video that will just kind of summarize it for you guys. But in the interim, I posted for you, Cal State Fullerton has access to a lot of amazing resources. I want you guys to take advantage of these while you have them. Miller and Rolnick produced this book called Motivational Interviewing. And this is one of the most foundational books in education because it does start more so on the one-on-one, the social cognitive theory approach of working with people more directly. But the thing is that understanding this information and this approach is powerful because it has the potential to influence our communication and how we connect with people on a mass level. So when we're talking about diffusion and communicating on a societal level, you've got to find a way to connect with people. I mean, how do you communicate with 330 million people? It is possible. And we're doing it right now with the whole thing with COVID. Wash your hands, the education that we are reinforcing. The mask concept, notice my choice of words, okay? There's a little bit of research debate going on there. But the most powerful thing we have on this whole planet Earth is washing our hands under running water. And it's amazing because China has always practiced this form of education. It's a little more intense and could be a little more punishable than in America. But America's taking on some tools of China that I wouldn't necessarily agree with for human rights reasons. But it's interesting because we do have the ability to connect with people. You just have to, I like to say, you got to figure out how to pull on their heartstrings. What industry in America knows how to do that, to communicate and affect people on a very large level across multiple demographics? Think about it. They are the specialists, and they are the ones that two groups actually, that we really have to take pages out of their books. You are influenced by it every single day of your lives. The ad industry. They know how to create change in our society. They know how to influence people and to direct people in their choices, okay? As health educators, I want you guys forevermore to constantly pay attention to advertising, whether it's food, advertising for food or airplanes or lawnmowers, whatever it is. Be present to, because they have got health education folks will never have the money that the advertising industry has, okay? We will never have that money, all right? So they have got research up the kazoo to figure this out. The tobacco industry is a phenomenal example. They have profound amounts of research and they know how to target people, and legislation has been slow in following them to slow them down. Like if you think about going back in time, okay, it might have been before you were born, who knows? But Joe Camel, all right? They used to use this camel to advertise cigarettes. And it wasn't that it spoke to adults, it spoke to kids. And the reason is because if you develop that relationship with a child, they're going to grow up with that comfort and familiarity of Joe Camel. And that is going to carry with them for the rest of their lives, that how could Joe Camel, who spoke to me as a child, be bad for me? We do this with food. And for those of you who are with me in nutrition, we might have talked about this with things like Campbell's soup. They do ads that create this image, this emotion, that going home when you're tired, lonely, sad, wet, everything's going to be okay, because that hot cup or hot bowl of soup represents your mama cheering you up. Even if you grew up without a mama, you buy into the story because it's a beautiful story. And this is really the innovation concept. It's communicating on a mass public. So your advertising industry is one really powerful tool, as are other mega corporations like the conglomerate of cigarette companies. What is another form of manipulation of human beings in our society? Also a lot of money, and it's scary because this is why I'm concerned. This whole concept that has been so successful in China in changing social norms is being used here at a faster and faster rate. You've got two things at play. You've got media, social media, and you've got the entertainment industry. And when those two came together and became one, which is really what they've done, when you have the Kardashians pitching diet, pills and teas and things, and then you have the normalization of girls in movies who have broken up with boyfriends, so they eat whole pints of ice cream. They've created social norms that we buy into. So these are examples, and these are not, do not use those for your assignment. Those are not education opportunities that are positive. But we need to really look at our society as a whole and learn from it, because the tools that we are using in a health education setting are being used by corporations. They just funnel tons of money to figure out how to speak. So we manipulate people's hearts, their emotions. I'm not saying that that's what our America does this. I'm not saying that's what we want to do in our health education settings, but we definitely need to pay attention to this and figure out how in a powerful and positive way we can connect with people so that they find value for themselves. And that's really at the crux of your 5 health models and theories, is helping people identify what the value is for them so that they want to be there. It's just the 5 different models and theories, they're different forums, okay? And they go the gamut from, gosh, I forget what the very first one is. Hold on, bear with me. I don't have this memorized. Okay, the very first one, the health belief model, that really targets the individual very specifically. But I don't know if any of you have bothered to analyze this, but the way it's all there in the book, the way they present your models, they progress in size for the size of the group. So from individual, so now you have the next one, the planned behavior. You're starting to expand out into a little larger group, a social group. And from there, you progress into the stages of change, which is a little larger, more educational size group. And then social cognitive theory is kind of a little bit in parallel with trans-theoretical model, because it has that aspect of one-on-one, has that aspect of group, but it just they split a little bit. And then from there, your diffusion is when it just blows out really big and goes across the country. So yeah. Okay. So motivational interviewing. The power of this is in your library of books for your careers, folks. If whether you stay in any form of community health education, or if you go into to be a PA, a dietitian, whatever that looks like, social work, MI is going to be one of your best friends, and you really should have this book on hand in your library. The second one, and this is the beauty, is while you're at Cal State Fullerton, you can download the PDF, I think for a short period of time, like 7 days or something, flip through it, get comfortable with it to make sure that if you want that like on your holiday gift list type thing, then you know it's there, or start keeping an eye out for, gosh, I don't know. I mean, I'm really big on used books. I rather recycle a book than always buy brand new. So keep your eye, because you also might find a really great deal on one for those crazy students who buy things and then dump them without realizing they'll need them again. Okay. And then the other one I went ahead and pulled up, it's not the workbook I had used when I was in grad school, but I think from looking at it, it's going to be pretty darn similar. And that's Building Motivational Interviewing Skills, a Practitioner Workshop. And what this one does is it would be part of a curriculum where we would spend the semester working on counseling skills if you have not done this. And it's a good practice piece, either one, if you feel rusty, or two, you don't never end up with classes like that. And again, this will be applicable not only for the health education and healthcare industry, but the reality is, you got to remember, I came from philosophy as my undergraduate. I worked in retail at Nordstrom. And to a degree, we used MI in the sales industry. So whether or not they realized that's what they were doing. So these tools, you guys, will be applicable everywhere. There's even now, I was going through the list, there's even MI books on organization structure and helping align and manage people. I mean, it's just, this is such fantastic, brilliant information for communicating with people and setting relatedness, and then helping people come together as a team to move forward. Okay, yeah, I get excited about this. And MI, I think MI was originally developed, by the way, for the addiction industry, interestingly, to promote change led by the individual. Okay, so these are the topics I have at hand for today. Let's hope all my highlighting went away. You know, I'm going through the chapter and I'm thinking about what are really going to be the most practical skills that we need to be prepared for in life. And again, these are always translatable in anything, because one skill can cover everything. I mean, think about it, you guys. If you know how to fly an airplane, it's not like you can go into a classroom and fly an airplane in the classroom. You can't translate the airplane itself into the classroom, but what you can translate is the methodical skills, the steps of development to get the plane moving and off the ground and maintaining the plane. Well, this is why I keep saying that no matter what skills you develop, they will be translatable in any career. You just got to learn how to apply them. So number one, how do we develop multicultural awareness when in an unfamiliar community? You know, you're going to always find people telling you, oh yeah, you know, do this, do that. But what if I were to take you guys and drop you in the middle of a community or a country where you have no relationship, no understanding of the area? And maybe, you know, you knew you were going to be transferred to that location and you are committed to being amazing and awesome, but you didn't have time to do your research. This is a fly by the seat of your pants conversation. What are you going to do in that community to get yourself up to speed as quickly as possible? And this is just, why do I raise this question? Because I want to make sure you guys are tapped into realizing the volume of resources we have available to us that are often overlooked. So thinking outside of the box. Do you guys want to start by brainstorming in a group setting and then come back and talk about it? Yep. Okay, brilliant. I think that's absolutely fabulous. Maggie, I just lost you guys for a moment, but Maggie, you doing okay? Yeah, okay. I know you're at work and everything. And thank you, actually, speaking of Maggie, as a reminder, you guys, for President's Day, I did go ahead and I canceled the discussion that day, which is next Monday. So I know I apologize, but I kind of got into conversation with someone and they said, university holiday, do you really want to open that can of worms with the university? And I'm like going, no, I'll take it as a vacation day. Okay, so just to be complete, as to Amber's question, are the discussions mandatory or only if we have questions from the readings? Amber, great question. And for everyone else pondering the same thing, you guys, the discussions are not mandatory. They're an opportunity. I'm going to record them, but the reality is that they're really application of the information. And that's really, today's the better day in comparison to last week. Today's more mindful application. Which will be in breakout rooms. It will not end up on the recording for this reason. So if you can come, fantastic. But as I said, it was really uncool that we didn't have the opportunity to establish a specific class. So so you guys didn't know in choosing your classes, which would be appropriate. Sierra, you were so dead on with your answer. I am so sorry I missed it. So for entertainment, movies, and TV shows, absolutely. Really powerful in influencing people's perspective. And it's interesting, you guys, because I know this is kind of a sideline remark, but as an example is that in the 1970s, part of how America became, or 60s and 70s, how America became so anti-Vietnam was because for the first time ever, we saw fighting and killing on television. And people were horrified because up to that point, Korea, World War II, World War I, Civil War, these wars all happened over there. People at home didn't see it. And so it's not that, I'm sorry to say this, but it's not that war influenced the public. It was the media that influenced the public. And that is a very, very powerful tool. And it's also a very dangerous tool because it has the ability to direct people in whatever agenda it chooses to communicate. So our goal is, and our hope is, that journalists will want to pursue human interest stories to educate us rather than to communicate a narrative. Saw a great presentation by a journalist, by the way, about that. And she was heartbroken because the media would not allow her to do articles on the opioid epidemic in America. It didn't fit their narrative. Okay, Elon Musk changing the stock market through Twitter. Yeah, this is that you have a person who has a lot of visibility and people pay attention to him. And they follow and listen to what he says. These, for better or for worse. Ooh, Maggie, someday in my fantasy world of having free time, I will watch that because I do have Netflix. It's called Pharmacist. Fabulous. Yeah, it's
If I can do it, you can do it, Professor. Somehow I found time to watch that documentary.
I have to say, last night, you guys, I watched one that's through Cal State Fullerton. We have access to movies through our school. And I watched one on absolutely brilliant. And I wish I had nutrition for the semester, but it was on the modeling industry. And of course, the influence on the psyche of people in terms of their expectations of themselves and how this one, it was American Eagle's lingerie. They decided to completely rewrite the book, and they did all their modeling sessions with diversity of size and ethnicity and age, and did this whole documentary about it, and having all these women talk about their experiences in life and it was just stunning. So Maggie, maybe not this week, but I will put that on my to-do list. Actually, maybe next weekend. Yeah, maybe next weekend I can squeeze that in. Okay, fabulous. Thank you for sharing that. I love it. You guys, whenever you have things that you want to share, whether it be an article or anything else or movie or something, please do share. Don't be stingy. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing because I just can't find my way. And oh, we have more friends that showed up. Totally didn't realize this. Okay, we have got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Okay, you guys, so this is what I'm going to do. Did you all have the information that I had sent out, right? For the announcement. Do you guys have that with the prompt, the first prompt? Maggie's going no. Maggie, do you have access to the class website? Yes. Okay. On your homepage for our class, the announcements are at the very top, and the announcement that I just sent with the video saying, hey, the assignment, it has the prompts for today's discussion. So you'll see it there. And I have the feeling if you get into a group and none of you have access to the prompts, then just jump back and let me know and I'll give them to you. Okay. Do you want me to post them again for a quick minute? I'm getting no emoting from you guys. Then I'm assuming Maggie, you're on no talk. So I have no idea. I can't read lips. I'm not good at it.
I found it. Sorry, I found it.
Okay, good. Okay, Veronica, you got him. Okay, fabulous. Thank you. And yeah, you guys, it's really sad. My grandparents were both deaf on my father's side, and I can really sign like an infant, but I cannot read lips. They could. I couldn't. Okay, creating breakout rooms. We are going to go anywhere from 2 to 3 in a group, okay? And just in case you were unclear, I want you to first start with tackling the question, how do we develop multicultural awareness when in an unfamiliar community? I want you to brainstorm ideas of how, if you were dropped in the middle of nowhere, maybe it's going to be the backwoods of West Virginia, okay? Maybe it's going to be up in Alaska. Maybe it's going to be in the Midwest, wherever that is, all right? Maybe it's in another country. I want you to brainstorm ideas of how you could develop multicultural awareness so that when you walk, for example, into a classroom, you know how to connect with people. Does this make sense, you guys? Are you clear on this? Okay, we're only gonna take a few minutes to do this. What time is it? We're only gonna take a few minutes. So let's take 5 to 10 minutes and then I want you guys to come on back, okay? All right, your rooms are open. We've got 1, 3, and the rest are 2, 2, 2. You go. Maybe I should have kept you guys as 3s. Drats. Oh well. We'll figure it out. Okay. I am going to pause the recording while everyone's in the group. Okay, I'm back to recording. So what did you guys come across of ideas? So we were going to take you, drop you in the middle of, oh yeah, shaking my hair was not a good idea. Drop you in the middle of nowhere. How are you going to learn about that community? How are you going to find a connection with them? And I'm requesting that you all share with me. So please do not hide in the corners, whether you write in the chat box before I call your name so that I don't call your name, or you verbally speak with me. So Ms. Amber, what you got?
In my group, we just talked about being open-minded, accepting and respectful of like the differences that you find with the people that you're talking to.
Excellent. So that's a kind of like a, it's like feeling in the dark. Work your way through. Okay, Veronica,
Yeah.
cultural sensitivity. Okay, engagement, engaging the people in conversation. What does engagement mean, Rosemary? How are we going to use that? Awareness, sympathy. All right.
Opening yourself up to learning about the environment and the people there, showing interest, showing that even though you may be like the opposite or the odd one there, that you're interested in engaging and learning and helping and making a difference.
Excellent. All right. Now you guys are really amazing and I love you all dearly because you're really indicating that you want to be sponges to open up to people. But the thing is, you're opening up waiting for them to come to you. I need you to figure out how to show interest in them and be engaged in them. And you can either go to them and point blank say, so what's your community like? Do you have lots of kids? Do you usually have 5 kids to your family? Are you Catholic? I mean, that now you're going to build off of assumptions, right? And we don't want to do that. So what I'm trying to get at is if you get dropped in this community, you can be a sponge and you're going to be open and accepting and wonderful. But you've got to understand what you're getting into. How are you going to access that information in the community? And when you do, you are going to start building a network. So what do?
By partaking in their rituals or like practices.
Brilliant. I mean, we all, be cautious of that definitely because, there is, for example, if you're of one, let's say, congregation, it doesn't make sense for you to necessarily go start practicing another. So you have to pick and choose what's appropriate. But getting your feet wet, folks, getting involved, investing in the community, going to the grocery store, looking at the foods that they eat, right? Driving around and looking at the community and the construct of the community. You don't have to ask people. What you want to do is have the foundation because then you have something to speak from. To speak with a realtor, go out, do your own investigation and understand. What is the typical housing situation like here? What is the construct of the playgrounds? How many schools are there? Are the schools K through 8, K through 12? Are there community colleges locally? If people go to school, start trying to find out what would be the closest education for them. You want to start to paint the outline of the picture so that when you meet with the people and they say, oh, well, when we go to the park, instead of you standing there going, park, you have a park, which I've done. You want to be able to say, oh, are you talking about O'Neill Park? Are you talking about Hala'i Park? Which park are we talking about here? Because then that's you showing them that you've already invested in the community, that you're aware of it. And that enables you to kind of do a little bit of a shortcut of being that sponge, because if you've come to them to meet them on their ground, then you're showing the effort. Think of it this way. Everyone always talks about the challenges of going to France. The people are not the friendliest. But if you make your rudimentary effort to say, bonjour, madame, to greet someone in their language, it opens doors. So you want to do the same. You want to go out. So this is what I'm looking for, is what are all those possibilities? Ethnographic studies where you directly engage with the community and their environment to gain understanding of their behavior. Very nice, Rosemary. Customs, values, and situations. Helps identify cultural norms, social structures, and behavior. Yeah, so Veronica, very good point, is basically do your research first when you can. But you guys, research is wonderful and it's amazing if you have time, but nothing beats the real deal, okay? And that's where you just got to go out there. So for example, if you get shuttled to a community and you just don't know the community, you start by driving around to going to the local haunts. And it's not like I'm saying you got to go be, best friends with the bartender. Please don't do that. You're going to get a reputation. But find your way. To some degree, we have to be gregarious. We have to be outgoing. We have to hi. It's nice to meet you, and then the next step is, I don't know if you guys are, practicing this already, but we want to build relationships by connecting. And this is the art of a very good salesperson. This is why I said we have to take from everything. So if you're in a community and someone starts talking about, oh, well, yeah, I'm knitting a blanket, you may not know how to knit, okay? But you can create connection with that person by saying, oh my gosh, my aunt knitted me a blanket. It's absolutely amazing the work that goes into that. Now, of course, the reality is my aunt's blanket is ugly as sin, but I respect and honor the fact that she really did put a lot of effort into it. And that's a skill I do not hold. So I'm not, never said the blanket was beautiful. So it's finding the things that we can connect with people so that we understand. If you come from a big family and they have a big family, then it's like, yeah, I get that. And that is part of building the bridges, is creating a relationship so that you are not in because that wasn't where you grew up. But to create that familiarity, people need to know who you are and what you're about. They need to have things, I call them hooks. They've got to have things to hook onto so that they don't feel like you're coming in, you're going to tell them what to do. And that's the concern that oftentimes happens. Well, that'll get to one of our next prompts, because oh my God, I've been put in the hot seat by people in class. Yes, Rosemary, to build trust. All right. So do you guys feel confident? Do you feel comfortable in understanding that I want you always to be prepared? All right. And preparation doesn't always mean, as much as I love Veronica's idea, we don't always have time to do that preparation research in advance. And that research still, it could be dated, it could be missing the nuances of the community. And that's the stuff we have to go look for, the things that will help us understand better what's going on to apply it. Okay, the next question is, what are the local social determinants of health? And, your book doesn't really go into it. And I just feel like we need to touch this a little more profoundly. So I did go ahead and posted a couple links. I created just a module while you guys are out. So a couple links for the CDC website and for Healthy People, because I really like the list that the Healthy People provided. So question number one is, are you guys able to see the Healthy People website that I'm scrolling right now? Fabulous. Okay. Because I think this is kind of an interesting thing to take into consideration. And by the way, if you guys ever come across some links that you're just like, wow, I think this is a really great resource, please share it, okay? Because I can't cover everything all the time. And so I'm looking for things that I feel are pretty good and fundamental. But if you have ideas too, I just love you to death. Please do share them. So social determinants, I thought it was kind of cute and interesting how the textbook had a reference to the World Health Organization's description. And it is a very good overview that it has to do with your birth, your neighborhood, your work. But the reason I like the Healthy People one is because if you recall, for you to develop your project, you need to identify a group that you want to, 3 groups initially is the first assignment. Identify 3 groups of interest to you, and then you're going to hone it down to one that you're going to use as your sample for communication. But I like this one because I think it really kind of helped us target areas more succinctly by going through this list. So for example, the availability of resources to meet daily needs. And as we know from the nutrition aspect, it's going to be the lack of fresh foods, not just the processed foods or the meats. Safe housing. I got to say though, this is a little complicated, you guys, and this also kind of gets into the realm of mental health. And this debate comes up frequently, is providing housing and how many people desperately need it and how many people do not want it. It's the bizarrest thing going on in this country, and it's a strange split. Do you guys, do you recognize what I'm talking about when I make that reference? Help me understand, right? That in the mental health aspect, some of the challenges that we're getting is either people who do not connect with society and do not want to be a part of it, or people who have drug and alcohol addictions and don't want to be held accountable, or people, and this was coincidentally, I was talking to family because I'm from Oregon, and we were talking about this regarding Oregon some years ago, that they have this epidemic of families who intentionally choose to live on the streets and raise their small children on the streets because they feel there's something freeing and glorious and romantic about living on the streets, raising their children, and they choose it. I can't speak for understanding what's going on. Not my area of research, but it's complicated. All right, access to educational, economic, and job opportunities. This list, folks, is a good guideline for you when you go into a new community to start looking for things to help you identify what does it really look like. I mean, you can go to a community and people could be like, oh yeah, there's a bus that runs all the time. And you get that from the research. And so you think, oh, you know, there's no reason for people not to show up at the classes. But then once you talk to the community, you're going to start to find out that one, maybe the bus breaks, there's only one bus once every 3 hours. Or you might find out that the bus breaks down all the time. Or you might find out that the bus ride is one of the most dangerous experiences of your life, that you'll inevitably get held up, you'll get sexually assaulted, you'll get kidnapped, whatever possibility is at hand. So you have to take into consideration there are different experiences. Maybe there's transportation, but it doesn't go where you need it to go. Or maybe the transportation, the cost is prohibitive for the people of that community, and so it's a moot point. Or maybe people don't know they have access to reduced fares. And that's why I'm saying is that the research will only take you so far, but getting in and understanding those nuances makes the difference. Okay. Sorry, I have to take a quick peek at our prompt because I can't remember for the life of me what it was I wanted to target on this stuff. Not that. Okay, see, I started building a little teeny thing for you guys. And I will, if I keep posting things, I'll add to it, and I will alert you guys when I find more resources that I find are attractive. All right, let's find the announcements. Maybe that's here. No, that's not there. Okay, that was an exciting run. I was tying these into, by the way, your objectives. So how do these impact education? All right, brilliant. So I think we're all pretty darn well versed in conversations of, you know, how crime can impact, the socioeconomic conditions can impact. How does language and literacy impact access to information?
It becomes a barrier. You don't know how to speak the language, it's a barrier, and you can't get the career plan or across to the community.
Right. And you guys, I got to warn you, it is complicated because you're going to, if you're in communities, you may have communities that, for example, you speak Spanish and you go into that community, but then you find out that it's a dialect that you're not familiar with. Or you might get into that community and you speak Spanish, but then some of the people in the room do not read, and your material's translated into Spanish. What good is that going to do you? So there are these different aspects. And then to make it more complicated, then what if you've got people who are Spanish speaking, who are deaf and using sign language? I mean, it's just, I got to warn you, it's never going to be perfectly simple. Every single day I do my public health education with Kaiser, every day there is a curveball, always. And every day I have to problem shoot and deal with on the fly a situation. It just comes up. And that's why I am going to, we have one more exercise, I think, for the group that I've got to make time for. Okay, Pooh, because I really want to get to that one. All right, other things that you may or may not be present to that would influence, you know, the residential segregation. This is kind of interesting because out here it is driven by economics, but back east it's driven by cultural groups. Your groups are very divided out there. They're very heterogeneous. They stay amongst themselves, and it's not a bad thing. It's a community support thing, but it's having to have that, to build that relationship, respect, to be able to go in and work with people. And that's part of the conversation of why we want to empower communities, because we want to work with them to build programs rather than coming in and saving the day and being amazing and connecting with them, but then leaving at the end of the day. So if that means eventually we take an apartment in that neighborhood and integrate in, then that's absolutely beautiful, because you will know every aspect of that culture. But then that's revising who you are and your directions in life. And that's not a bad thing. It's just a personal choice thing. All right, I like this. I like the Healthy People 2020, because they did divide up the social determinants from the physical determinants. And I think it's important to have those distinctions, folks, because the social determinants, all of these, we have some ability to influence and we have zero ability to influence. And we just have to kind of, I like to say, pick and choose our battles of figuring out where we're going to focus our attention and target and what difference we can make. And the reality is that's really getting the buy-in of the locals as to what, they want to invest in. And again, that focuses on the empowering aspect. Okay, jumping over that one, since I provided the links for you guys. I think I have to split up my tabs now into different classes. This is way too big. Okay, for the motivational interviewing. Yeah. All right. So the question is if you guys would please go to your textbook, if you have it, and if not, oh gosh, does everyone have the textbook now? Or does anyone not have the textbook? Because if you do not have the textbook, I'm not, no judgment, but I just would like to know how in the heck you're muddling your way through this class. Because I've got to understand what's going on. Okay.
The one with the colorful hands, right? Is that the cover? Okay, cool. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, it's such a fabulous book. I mean, I just really, all right. A couple of things. First of all, I thought this was really interesting because on this list, they talk about different things. And so I'm just going to read through them quickly in case you don't have your book handy. But it says, that, the characteristics of a multicultural, competent health education specialist, the first bullet is aware that no one person can represent or understand a whole group. Well, yeah, duh, that would be very egocentric of us to think that we can really grasp everything. That's physically, it's just psychologically near impossible. And that's why you would have to really assimilate into that community. And, it's kind of interesting, when I moved back east, I was warned kind of early on that to assimilate into the culture there, it takes years. And they weren't kidding. I mean, I think my social network finally accepted me after probably a good 5 years. And then eventually people, came to adopt me as their own locally, culturally, but dang, that took time. And that's a drastic difference in comparison to California, where you're the best friend the moment you've met. Okay, second bullet, acquires knowledge about individuals and groups of people different than oneself. So this is where we were talking about, you're doing the reconnaissance, you're going out into the community and learning and getting involved. Participates in diverse cultural events. This is where you guys said, I'm not sure if it was you, Veronica, or someone else, and I apologize for not giving credit as due, but about getting involved with the community on integrating into their activities. There is absolutely a time and a place for this. Empathizes with humankind and the human experience. I think we're already there if we're looking at health education. But there was a couple things here that was, I thought, really interesting. Provides an inclusive environment. Folks, I got to tell you, we will do our best to create an inclusive environment. But there is one important rule you need to understand. You cannot please all the people all the time. You are always going to be in some type of situation where you do your best to make it completely inclusive and equitable for everyone. But people only reveal what they want to reveal, and you only know what you can know. And and I need you to give yourselves permission that it is physically impossible to be perfect and to create a perfect environment. Okay. I've tried and it just isn't possible. People will smile, they'll say yes, and you will find out later that it was an absolute no. And that is because it boils down to personal responsibility of others to communicate. And when they choose not to, you start operating off of a set of information that you think is appropriate. So the key is that you are going to have to follow your intuition, and you've got to give yourself the allowance of understanding you are human. They talk about the idea of, let's see, that you've also got to take into consideration things like trying to make things gender neutral. I'm going to warn you. Some communities are more of the old school concept. And if you go in and do that, they're going to take offense to it. So just be a little cautious. Our education sometimes can be a little bit of a fad concept of what is popular, and what is the approach lately. And I just want to warn you that people don't shift as fast as it's sometimes proposed in books. Okay. That's where you've really just got to read the situation, and you're going to read it on the fly and determine what you think is really the best fit and work from there. Okay. So an example that I will give you guys is that, I do, I work in weight management, and I work with people who are, your BMI range that's going to be typically, I might get a few people in the 25 plus, but I typically will get people who are 30, 35, 40 BMI. So we're talking, weight ranges that go from 160 up to 463 pounds. And I love my people that I work with, absolutely love them. And I've been called to the carpet in the middle of a class before, where I practice all the cultural sensitivity you can possibly imagine, except for the one thing that in particular, and I love this woman to death, don't get me wrong, she'll forever be in my heart. She called me out and she flat out said, and oh my gosh, it was just the most awkward experience of my life. But I teach very large classes when we used to be in the classroom. And at Kaiser, she called me out and she just flat out stops me with a little Southern drawl in front of the whole class and goes, "Julie, have you ever been fat? Do you even know what it's like? Do you understand going from childhood all the way through my teen years, experiencing what life can be like?" And she went on this litany of experiences. And what do we need to do? We need to listen, to acknowledge a person's experience. I can't lie to her because I don't know that aspect. I can't tell her yes, but on the other hand, I refuse to step down and say no. And in that situation, I had two choices. One is to make excuses, or two is to build a bridge to help her understand that I too come from a situation that influences my choices and my life. And I did. And my response to her was no. I have never experienced this. Yes, I know firsthand from my grandmother what that experience was like. And that is what formulated my opinions and experience in life as to why I'm here. But I also let her know that I too carry a burden of experience, as every single person in this room does. And I shared with the whole room what my burden of experience was. And some of you may know this, maybe not. And it was amazing because she looked at me and the whole room was silent. And she looked at me and she just was like, "Oh, okay." And that was it. She goes, "I didn't mean any disrespect." I just need you to understand where I'm coming from. So the key is that we do our best to connect with people. I do, at Kaiser, we were trained to never let our personal lives come out in the front. And I disagree with that 100%. Because when you work with people, they need to know you're human. They need to know that you understand that you don't have this perfect life. And you will have a time and a place, folks, where you will, for some reason, in some way, get called to the carpet by someone who will contest you, whether it be your experience, your skills, your knowledge, your ability, your empathy, whatever it is. And I don't want you to panic. I want you to hear the person, acknowledge them, and I want you to be comfortable enough to share your story with them so that you can build bridges together. Okay? Because that wasn't the last time. That was the most intense, but that was not the last time that's happened. And it won't be. Because when people are in a very vulnerable situation when they receive health education, because oftentimes they come into that situation feeling like they're going to be told they're wrong. I get this with my diabetes patients. They think that we're going to tell them that they can't eat this, this, and this, and they are angry when they come into classes. And my job is to backpedal and get them to open up. So I want you to be prepared and comfortable for being yourself with people, okay? And when you do, they will love you to no end because you opened your heart. All right, we're gonna do one more breakout group, folks, for 1 minute. Literally just a couple minutes is the role playing. Oh, so I want you just guys to try a little bit on the motivational interviewing. That member experiences high body mass. How do you connect? Well, that kind of cheats because I already presented that. When discussing, okay, well, so with an experience of an individual when discussing exercise. And another one, the member is from Greenland. How do you create relatedness with the individual? I mean, Greenland, what the heck? Whole other place. All right, I want you just for a couple minutes, folks, go for it. And then we will quickly wrap up the last one when you come back. All right, this time we are, yeah, we're still 2, so you guys should be able to go very quickly. All right, there you go. Jump over there, jump on back. Okay, sorry to pull the plug on you guys, but I wanted to respect your time. So I wanted to get back in here. So what did you guys come up with? Would you kindly share with me? What did you come up with, either with number 1 or number 2, with exercise or relatedness with an individual from another country? All right, you want me to choose? Okay, Raina, have I heard from you today? Raina, exercise?
Oh, hi. Sorry, my mute wasn't working. But are we talking about the high body mass and the exercise?
Yeah.
So my group and I just talked about being really respectful and being mindful of our word choice, because there can obviously be very triggering words for people who are trying to go on a weight loss journey or trying to be more mindful of their health and wellness, and just kind of being able to relate to them in a way that they can trust you with like what they want to tell you and what they want to fix.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think we just talked mostly about word choice.
Okay, got it. You know, another thing too is to speak from experience, you guys, whether you can speak from your own or someone else's. It's okay to build a connection. Now, Raina, if you were, let's say, this massive bodybuilder, then you're not exactly going to be as believable about the discussion of developing exercise, even though you had a place, a time where you started also. And that's really what we need to find. Sometimes the connection with someone is not our here and now. It might have been something from our past, a prior experience at some point. You know, and this is where, you know, a lot of the, you know, the motivational interviewing is going to come in terms of listening to people and finding kind of that hook, that something they bring up that you can connect with and then understand. So think about this is that, you know, I often talk to people, whether it be education or an exercise or anything else, as I remind people, every single one of us was a baby once, right? And we all started with zero language and zero skills. We had no ability. We didn't know how to chew. We didn't know how to swallow. We had one experience, which was nursing, whether it be on mother or on bottle, and we knew nothing else. We didn't know how to walk. We didn't know how to sit on a toilet. We didn't know anything. But through the evolution of time, of gradual exposure, and then creating small steps, we built up. And so, like, one of the things I connect with people when they look at the idea, you know, they're through, you know, like when I've got a member who's 463 in pounds and they're just looking at me like, you got to be kidding me. You know, I mean, they're experiencing, and this is where kind of that, like Veronica said on research, the research can come in, you know, understanding that, you know, one of the biggest challenges of people with a higher body mass is the pressure on the knees, the pain in their knees really keeps them from exercising. And so we start with baby steps. I mean, and I focus on the positive, which is communicating with a person, reminding them we all, when we're developing new routines, we all need to start simple and expand slowly. So you got to let them know that your expectations are not for them to perform this much exercise right away, but to slowly focus on comfort and building habits one step at a time. So make it simple so that it's really about skill developing and not about the individual or judgment on the individual. Okay. And that is something that you can translate. You can bring to the table of their exercise by talking about maybe how you learned to cook, you know, and how it's that skill building was a slow process, and that you felt, you know, like, let's say your father is this famous pastry chef and you want to make cookies, but you're looking at this and you're looking at this. Well, that's like them looking at you and themselves, and letting them know that we've all got to work slowly towards, you know, our aspirations and having that vision. So we can connect with people, folks, is what I'm saying. We do have that ability. We just have to really think about all the possible bridges that we can build, not depending on one major bridge. Okay. For the members from Greenland, how do you create relatedness with that individual coming from another country? All right. Justin, you want to give a shot? Did you have a chance with your group to talk on that one?
Yeah, so we spoke about the high body mass one, and I did join kind of late, so I didn't get to hear their perspectives on that, but I gave them like my input, and I did have a friend. Well, I still do have this friend, and she does like have a high body mass, and she just like kind of confided in me about her problems and situations, and kind of like we discussed. I feel like the first important thing to do is just kind of listen, and then second, let them know that you're there for them, and kind of just like, you know, give them whatever resources or whatever you can. And then I believe Raina also mentioned this, but it's also like being aware of like the word choice, because some words are very triggering to her, and I do have to respect that, you know. But it's just kind of like being there is like what's most important.
Yeah, it's, you know, something else though, Justin, I want you to consider in working with her, listening to her, is folks, one of the most powerful things we can do is not just being available ear, but also being prepared to go on the journey with the person. All right. So for her, whether it be someone in class, or a friend, you can take on a challenge together where you guys talk about maybe like building the habit of walking, and the two of you have walking dates, even if it's not in person, maybe it's by phone, or maybe you text each other and report back to each other, what time are you going to walk? Okay, you're going to do walk then. Okay, well, I'm going to be walking this time. And where are you going to walk? And okay, this is where I'm going to walk. So it's really engaging a person in their life, getting them involved by you being involved in yours, so that the two of you are not doing it alone, but doing it together, even whether it's physically together or virtually together. All right. It's I appreciate listening to people, but listening is a dead end road. It's just flowing out, and we want to create a reciprocal relationship so that they can build on it also. So Justin, does that make sense in terms of working with your friend?
Yeah, I actually did go on that journey with her. It was like before the pandemic hit and the stay-at-home order was like kind of like enforced. We actually would go to the gym like very often.
Mhm.
And then the gym shut down and we were like, okay, well, let's like think of other things we can do.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is that silver lining, folks, behind the COVID cloud, is there actually has been, when people stop fighting it, there's been a lot of opportunity for us to build our repertoire of knowledge and ideas. Okay. I mean, unlimited. It's phenomenal. And all I keep thinking is the more adaptable we are, the more we can improvise and overcome and adapt to a situation, the more powerful we are in any form that we come across. Great. Leonardo, were you in the same group as Justin? I am. And you guys, who was Leonardo in the group with? You guys all, were you all aware of who was in the group with you? Okay. Definitely start paying attention to whose names are in your group. Okay.
Oh,
All
it
right.
was, he said he was in a group with Veronica.
With Veronica. Okay, great. Thank you. Because I have, okay. God, that was slow to show up. Excellent. Thank you. All right, Veronica and Leonardo. Did you guys have a chance to talk on number 2, the idea of someone coming from another country? Either of you can respond. That's all good. My dog is noisy. Okay, Veronica and Leonardo. Neither of you, is my chat not loading? Is that the challenge here? I'm asking both of you a question. Okay. Not really. Okay, so you didn't, okay, that's fine. So you didn't touch number 2. Got it. Okay, so you guys focused on number 1. That's totally fine. All right, we're good. You guys, out of respect for your time, I've gone 16 minutes over, so I gotta totally let you go. Examples of challenges in identifying and managing intersectionality for education. Just keep in mind, intersection means that it's 2 different experiences. So I always like to say, coming from my world, I think the greatest example is, um, you know, um, being well educated, but being a single parent who's unemployed. I mean, people have expectations and I should be fulfilling one group, and yet I fell into a different group. And it was just pretty darn crazy trying to get support and get people to not judge me. Got a lot of that, a lot of judging. It's been an interesting journey. But just to be sensitive and present to the fact that when we come across people, we never know really what's going on. And we only know what they choose to reveal to us. So when you go forward, you definitely do not want to judge. You do not want to categorize people into boxes. You want to keep it as open an arena as possible and interact with them as individuals and as a group, always ready and able to adjust to whatever the situation arises. Okay, that's it, my friends. Thank you for being absolutely amazing and awesome and sticking with me today through that journey of information. I just really think it's great because the more we can keep thinking outside of the box, the more flexible we are. And the more flexible we are, the more successful we are at being able to really hear what people's needs are and working with them, coming to the table and meeting them at where they're at. Okay, this will be recorded, but I'm turning it off right now. Yes, you have a question?
Regarding the assignment that is due today, I know I emailed you last night, and I was actually wondering if you could provide some examples that I would be able to use, because I did add some to the theories, but I'm not entirely sure if I use them correctly.
Okay, so Leonardo, a couple things. When I sent out the announcement today, I did revise the language on the assignment because several people were like, what in the heck are you saying to us? So double check on the go back to the assignment itself and double check on the language to see if that helped it. But in terms of, my job is not to provide the examples for you at this point, because that was the question for you guys, is I need you to explain in your words what the different models and theories are. And then secondly, to provide an example of one that fulfills that model or theory, so that that applies the model or theory in that educational experience, and then what the benefits are, the application, the realization, the fruition of that experience. And I'm doing this because I need you to think on the application to make sure that you are ferreting it out. So two things. Number one, when you're going through the book, I don't know if you guys are paying attention, but they do provide some examples in the community connections sections to look at how it's being applied. Obviously, please, if you feel like, oh, I get it, don't use that as your example. But if you're really, really stuck, then reach out to me again. But I want you to work through these and understand that, like I said in the beginning, is that really the 5 models and theories start with the individual experience, and then they expand to the innovation one, which is a very broad reaching approach. So it kind of goes like this, splits a little, and then gets really big pictured.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
I know, Leonardo, I am so sorry. I don't want to give you guys all the answers because I want you to try to muddle through this on your own first.
Oh, yeah, I understand. I just wanted to make sure that I was doing it correctly, but if I do need more help, I will definitely email you tonight or earlier
Leonardo,
today.
I got to get you out of the email, man. Text first.
Okay, I'll definitely do that.
Message second.
Okay,
All right.
I'll definitely do that.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, and the rest of my friends, anyone else have any other questions? No? Okay, I stopped the recording.